evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Monday's edition of National Matters. And I am so privileged to have one of the national figures. When I say national figures, from me, he's doing a lot of work to update the nation, to keep us informed, and we are so grateful. I want you to welcome my guest in the studio tonight. Is not new, is part of the cabinet family, Mr. THABO KAWANA, who is the director and spokesperson of the Ministry of Information. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Pastor. Good evening to the viewers. We are grateful for the invitation, and it's always a pleasure to be here to engage our people and to keep the nation informed.
Absolutely. I know that you have a busy schedule, even to be found in the station on behalf of my wife, the CEO. It is always a privilege whenever you come. And I'll never forget, Mr. KAWANA, what I said right here to Honorable Doris Ria, who was the Minister of Information. I said, the problem that you have as government, you don't inform, you don't educate the people. You think the masses know what you know, when in actual fact, they don't. Just like now, I don't know if my director is aware that people are talking on the ground about the UPND. Me, I can bring these issues to you. I am your pastor, and my intention is to see to it that Zambia progresses. And thank God you are always there to come and cover up on some of the issues. But are you aware that there is a lot of talk going on the ground?
Yes, we are aware that there's a lot of apprehension on the ground. We are aware that the people are pregnant with expectations. And also the time in which most people expected that things will change after voting for change. Realistically speaking, the time is still short. We are only 6 months in office. But we appreciate the expectations of the people because the patience has run thin. And like I've said in many fora, that the government understands that in as much as patience pays, but we also know that patience pains. And as the people are exercising this patience, they are in pain.
Absolutely.
They feel very painful about what is going on. What is good to state is that we are aware of the people's pain, and we are working at ameliorating that pain and ensuring that we deliver to the people not only the assurances that we gave them, because the president is very clear, we didn't give any promises. What we gave were assurances. When the president promised the people of Zambia that I will pay the retirees, it is not a promise. It was an assurance, because the retirees ought to be paid anyway. When the president said to the people of Zambia, I will give you free education, it was not a promise. It was an assurance, because the people of Zambia deserve free education anyway, that every child in this country ought to go to school. So what he emphasizes is that what I gave the people are assurances. And an assurance ought to be given because it is literally a right that ought to accrue to the people anyway. So we are aware that the people are in pain. We are aware that the people are highly expectant, and we are doing that to deliver to the expectations of our people.
Some were assurances, as you say, and some were promises. One of which is prominent is where our president said, vote me into office in the morning, in the afternoon the kwacha will drop. That was not an assurance, it was a promise. And so some of us, knowing that our president is internationally exposed, I was thinking the kwacha will go to 15 kwacha immediately after being sworn in. But
I can assure you, Pastor, that the mandate the people of Zambia have given us is a mandate for 5 years to run the affairs of the country on their behalf. In 2026, God willing, we will sit in the studio and we will be laughing about the matter that you see where the kwacha is and what the president had assured. Again, even that will not be called a promise. It will be called an assurance. It is being worked on. You know, fundamentals move and change from time to time, and they're influenced by external and internal forces. So right now, we are being influenced by external forces, but we have a good economic team. We have a proper finance minister with proper finance technocrats at the Ministry of Finance, at the Bank of Zambia, and all measures are being put in place to ensure that we stabilize the exchange rate and we get to a point where we have a kwacha that is worthy being called a kwacha.
You see, one of the problems that you have as politicians, you are not a politician, you are a civil servant.
Yes, sir.
But I want to put it in a category of a politician, is that people like us who believe in God, and when I tell you, Mr. Thabo, when you do this, God says this, God, you don't pay much attention, you see. When you were in the opposition as UPND, there was a time when you were accusing the PF, not accusing them, that they are failing to control this, the prices are going there, and the PF in defense said, no, it's because of COVID. And they hid behind the COVID, but that was not taken. Now, you know, God being who he is, in his sovereign wisdom, he saw the war in Ukraine, which you and I did not see, between Russia, and it has destabilized the economies. Whether you like it or not, scientist or not, that war has affected nations, and it's still affecting. So when people pin you to say, why are you having high fuel prices and electricity tariffs, why are they going high? What would you say to that? I know that you are also affected by the war.
Yes, of course we are affected by the conflict that is existing between the two nations, Ukraine and Russia. And that is a conflict that is just days old. But the fundamentals have been in place for some time. The greatest fundamental that is affecting us as a nation is our mountain of debt. For as long as we remain indebted to the levels that we are going to go through quite a painful period to ensure that we bring the economy to a position where it begins to function on behalf of the people of Zambia and include a bit more. We had an economy that was functioning only for a selected few, but we want to build an economy that is able to function on behalf of all the people, that everybody will find space to play in that economy. The private sector, the public sector, and individuals as citizens to be able to play in that economy. Now, to do that, we cannot run away from the fact that we are a heavily indebted country and we've got a huge mountain of a debt that we need to collapse before we. So what we found is an economy which was in a position, for lack of a better term, would say a sinkhole. Now, if you're going to build on a plot that has a sinkhole, the first thing you would do is to backfill. So you spend quite some time and resources backfilling the plot so that then you bring it to a level where you're able now to put your foundation and build going up. Whereas your other colleague who may have found a plot which is on surface quickly gets to a position where they put the foundation and begin to build. It doesn't mean you won't build, but it means that you have to backfill so that you get rid of the sinkhole, you bring it to a level where it's stabilized, then you put your foundation and go. Currently, we are backfilling that sinkhole, and that sinkhole is debt.
Mr. Kawana, let me say this. I personally, I admire your hard work.
Yes.
Because you and the cabinet are not working together when you are in power. Even when you are in the opposition, you've been a friend of this station and everything that you throw in, so much so that sometimes I was talking to somebody and I said, do you know the PS for information? He said, who, Pastor? I said, THABO KAWANA. He said, no, THABO KAWANA is the director, Pastor. I said, I'm so sorry, but he's so hardworking. That was a mistake. But that said, what you are doing, forgive my ignorance, what you are doing, you are informing the nation here, there, that what is the role of the government spokesperson, who is a minister? Now you are the director and the spokesperson there. What is the distinction between the two? You seem to be informing us so wonderfully and ably. I hope my question doesn't put you in trouble with the minister or the PS, but it's your pastor who wants to understand.
Not at all. We are a team. On matters that have to do with State House, the president, there is a spokesperson there, and that's Mr. Anthony White. On matters to do with the party, the UPND, there is a spokesperson there, and that is Honorable Cornelius Mwita. On matters to do with government, they are twofold. The matters to do with government that border on policy are dealt with by the chief government spokesperson. On matters to do with government on a day-to-day basis, they are dealt with by the spokesperson. So the chief government spokesperson is my boss, and she deals with matters to do with policy. For example, cabinet sitting and making pronouncements. There is no way I can come and tell you what cabinet has decided. That is the role of my boss, the chief government spokesperson. So I am seen to be in the face of the Zambian people and talking to the Zambian people more often than my boss, because my role is junior. It is the one that deals with the day-to-day activities. So I may be called from one TV station to another radio station to a newspaper and so on, because that is my role. For the lack of a better term, I would say a capiopio for the ministry. So you run around, and I always joke with my minister. I always tell her, Mom, I am your vuvuzela. So my role is to vuvuzela. And my boss's role is to take care of policy and make pronouncements on policy matters and ensure that the ministry is stabilized. My PS is the Chief Executive Officer for the Ministry of Information. He's my boss. So I report to the Permanent Secretary. He supervises me. So even when you see that I have come on a forum such as this one, when you call me, I will seek the permission of my boss that I have been called to appear on cabinet. Then my boss will look at the invitation and will direct accordingly. So when I have come to any public forum, it is because I have been authorized and directed by my chief executive officer, who is the permanent secretary. So the director in the ministry reports directly to the permanent secretary and has a dotted line to the ministry. Our overall boss is the minister. So the minister deals with heavy matters, the policy. I, as spokesperson, deal with the day-to-day activities. Even if there is an issue to do with lollipops on the street and you want government to comment on lollipops, even if you call my minister to comment on lollipops, she will direct you to call me, because lollipops, really, I will deal with the issue of lollipops.
In developed nations, they promote people on merit.
Yes.
1, on qualifications. 2, on performance.
Yes.
And as the president may delight in you, you have the qualifications academically and you are performing. That is by me, because I monitor you, I get reports and all this. Your hard working is out there in the public. When the president says, THABO, you be PS or minister, will you stop talking? Will you keep the information to yourself That will be all?
Well, our role is to save the nation. And to save the nation, you do so at the pleasure of His Excellency the President. The people of Zambia empower His Excellency the President to deliver to them. And then the President begins to recruit tools. So he's like the plumber that the Zambian people have given, that there's a leakage in the house called Zambia. And they've engaged the plumber to fix that leakage. Now, the plumber will come there, given the mandate, and paid by the Zambian people, but the plumber will pick tools. So where he needs a wrench, he will get a wrench. Where he needs a screwdriver, he will get a screwdriver. So even with us, we serve at the pleasure of His Excellency the President, and we serve the people of Zambia. So wherever the President says you come and serve here, it is a call of duty that you cannot say no to, you take up. Right now, my call of duty has been given that I am to be director and spokesperson in the Ministry of Information. My role is to ensure that whatever position and responsibility I am given, I do it to the best of my ability. So if I'm told your role is to inform the nation, I will do that to the best of my ability. If my next role is changed and the President says, I'm giving you a new role to be a dancer, I will dance to the best of my ability.
Of your knowledge.
Yes, sir.
I know you are not Anthony Bwalia, but recently Anthony Bwalia, the President's spokesperson, announced that the government will blacklist the companies that are deemed to be fraudulent or they were in illegal businesses. How do you look at that? Is that progressive or what?
Well, we must all understand that the government transacts with public funds. And the public funds belong to you, the people of Zambia. And you only bring in an administration to be able to administer the public funds on your behalf as the people, the owners of the money. And whatever that money is used for is meant to be used for public good at the end of the day. Now, if the people given a responsibility to administer public funds begin to collide to collude with people in the private sector, for example, to siphon or outrightly steal public funds, then it becomes wrong. So when you have such people, be them individuals, be them contractors, be them companies, and they engage themselves in fraudulent activities where they steal money that belongs to the people, you can't continue to work with such people. There are companies, Pastor, that have bidded for service to be given to the government on behalf of the Zambian people, and they are paid. Maybe they are told to supply, let's say they are told to supply ball pens, and they are paid to supply ball pens. So you are supposed to supply 500 ball pens, and you are paid the money upfront to supply 500 ball pens, and you don't. You just don't supply. Then you have the audacity to come around and come back and say we need to vary that contract because the ball pens where we are getting them at the time we gave you the quotations, they have since increased. So we need to buy them at this amount. Meanwhile, we quoted you on this amount. Therefore, we need more money. And again, more money is released to you. And you don't even have the pity to go and buy and deliver to the people of Zambia. Again, you chew that money. That is bad and sad.
Absolutely.
So those are the people that Mr. Bwalia is talking about. That these people who have engaged themselves in fraudulent activities to defraud the people of Zambia will never be given an opportunity to transact with the government, which transacts on behalf of the people of Zambia. There is no mincing of words there. There are no apologies to be made. There are no consequences that may accrue to the people of Zambia or the government, save for the ones that are engaged in illegal activities. So all those dealing in illegal activities, defrauding the people of Zambia, will never be given an opportunity again, ever, to continue with their fraudulent activities.
If I steal this phone, Mr. Kawana, I steal this phone, and you have the evidence that I've stolen or I was supposed to supply to you or to the government, I get the money and I haven't delivered the phone. I get another money, I haven't delivered the phone. And you have evidence that you gave me the money as a government, or since it's UPND that has taken over, you have evidence to say this company, this company, this company, they did this. How long does it take for the government to prosecute people who have fallen short and there is evidence that they stole from the government, they did not supply this? How long does it take?
They will be prosecuted. Remember that we are only but 6 months in office. And there are many more things that are being discovered by the day. And there are many more contractors that have done very, very bad things to the people of Zambia. All those will be brought to book. No one will be spared. It is not just a question of saying you have been blacklisted, you will not do business with Zambia and it ends there. No, sir. If you defrauded the people of Zambia, you will answer to what you have done. If you are given a contract to do a road and you haven't even moved a shovel on that road before we even talk about a grader or excavator, and you have collected millions of kwacha, and you have sat on that money and you have chewed it, and you think you can get away with it, it will not happen. So the people will be prosecuted.
My question is, you know I'm here.
Yes, sir.
And I've eaten the public fund.
Yes.
What is the government waiting for?
The law
Since I'm here and the evidence is there, everything is there.
The law enforcement officers and agencies are working on that. And the people concerned are being called and they are being interrogated and they are being warned and cautioned, and soon arrests will be seen and soon people will be paraded before the courts of law. What this government does is to work within the confines of the law. We are a law-abiding government. We will make sure that nobody is treated unfairly. We will not judge you before you are given an opportunity to defend yourself. So we follow the due process of the law. And you and I, Pastor, know that we've been around in this country and we know that particularly in our country, the wheels of justice grind slow, but they grind. We have got people that were in court 7, 8 years, but eventually they had to pay the price. How long did it take, for example, to get to a conviction day for a person like Mr. Henry Kapoko? It took many years, but in the end, they paid. What is important for everybody to understand is that public money is the people's money. The people's money means it's the poor people's money. That is what pays for their education. That is what pays for their medications. That is what keeps the people alive. When you steal from the poor, when you steal public funds, you will enjoy it. You will enjoy it for a little bit. You buy yourselves houses, buy yourself vehicles, buy yourselves, get girlfriends, maybe even change your wife, and one day you will pay. Nobody gets away by stealing public funds, by stealing from the poor. So what I can assure you, Pastor, and the nation, is that all these people involved in this are being brought to book, will be brought to book, and they will pay.
Do you listen to some of my preachings, Mr. Kawana?
Yes, I follow them a lot.
You follow them
I
a
watch, because I enjoy them, because you speak to matters of the nation. And you speak without fear or favor. You tell it as it is. So as a person that is within government, it is also in my province to ensure that I follow to understand what is going on the ground. And people like yourselves are privileged. The kind of things the public will tell me may be censured and also tailored to tell people like ourselves as government feel good and tell us what we want to hear. But when they come to you, they come naked. They tell you what it is. And when you begin to espouse those things in your preachings, we pick it up. And that is how we know what is going on in the nation. So yes, I do follow a lot of what you preach.
I want to play you a clip. I don't know if my director is ready with this clip. This was the preaching, not for yesterday. It was for 2 Sundays ago.
Yes.
And I don't know, the team just cut that and put it somewhere there. Is my director ready with that clip?
Is it in order? Government after government, government after government, big tenders, they go to foreigners. Zambians don't have tenders. Those who have tenders from the governments, when one president goes, another one will come and investigate them. We only investigate ourselves. We don't investigate foreigners. You see how quiet you are? Which world did you live in? Right now, I am seeing what UPND is doing. They are doing a good job following people by name. I am yet to see Lebanese to join that line. And the Chinese. They've done atrocities in this nation. They've constructed roads which were not worth it. Pick the ones who gave them tenders and put the Chinese on the line. Are you hearing? Amen. Because when you pick the Zambians one by one, yes, you cripple Zambians. Where will the money go? It will go back to Kwanzu, and you'll be importing from there. Child of the Most High God, when you are ruled by foreigners, it's a sign that you are under a curse. And let me tell you something. The Bible says when the wicked are in authority, people mourn. But when the righteous are in authority, people rejoice. This is why I say believers get involved in politics. You don't have to go in politics so that after your term, when they investigate you, they find that you are a criminal. No. Was Daniel a politician? Yes, he was. Daniel, he was the 3rd prime minister. He was actually the prime minister. Was Joseph a politician? Yes, he was. Who do you think started the Zambia Revenue Authority system? It came from Joseph, the man of God.
Have you heard that?
Yes,
my preaching, not that I had any intention, Mr. Kawana. I am still so burdened because I know big companies here, foreign companies, who have done worse things than Zambians. I'm not a new pastor on the block, and I have not known you people just from the street. It must be mentioned that from Dr. Kaunda, I've been privileged to know the presidents personally and speaking to them privately, you know, to my president Bali here. I must say that when I call him, he answers. And we've been friends. But what pains me is to see Mr. Kawana, when you pick Mbuzi, you pick Mulenga, you pick this for questioning. You are investigating them. In the meantime, there is Jet Li, who I know. He was with that president, now he's with this president, now he's with this one. And there is also someone from New Delhi, someone from there. Those are not being touched. And they do things which are public. They are in public domain. This is where my heart bleeds. Why doesn't the government follow the foreigners? Because most of these roads, the other day we were going to Chainama Hospital, Mr. Kawana. Look at this hospital. It's not even more than 5 years, 6 years, or 20 years. The road from the back of Chainama, when you are going there, it's a mess. This road going through Dream Valley, it's a mess. All the roads, you see the yellow lines. They are still as fresh, but the roads are messed up. These lights they've given us, street lights, they light up for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and the bulbs blow up. I think my heart will settle when the government will follow foreigners and foreign companies, companies. And I know some people are into big tender supplies. They were there in Kaunda time, they were there in Chiluba time. It's just that I can't mention them. But you and I know, there are people are there. Even now as we speak, there are some people who have crossed into UPND. Now the heart, my heart is not settled. And this is why when I speak, Mr. Kawana, my heart is just before God. People may understand me, I've been saying this, and I speak the truth. The reason why President Sat and I became good friends, I issued statements at Evelyn On College. That live broadcast I did, the first broadcast before I went to Kitwe, he followed me, Kuavandel. This man is Kaunda sponsored. He came with journalists. I was staying in a servant's quarter. Where did he get the money? To block ZNBC, radio, TV. No person has blocked that in this nation, apart from my wife and I. During that time, we blocked all the media. When he discovered that the money, $20,000, which I was given by my friends in West Indies to say, buy yourself a house, I decided to preach the gospel. When he discovered, even when the money came through, went to Finance Bank and got the details, he just called me and says, Pastor Chiluba, I'm so glad for your integrity. I thought Kaunda gave you the money. That's how close we became. But the statement I issued then, Mr. Kawana, people thought I was against MMD. And one of the statements I said, people don't get excited with any politician. Without God, nobody can fix the problems of the nation. I was condemned. Some ministers who have gone to be with the Lord, they said, Koma Pastor Lady Abuino. I didn't mind. Even now, I'm still speaking like a lone voice. Some people have called me a cadre. I don't respond because I know my position. Anyway, back to the question that I asked. Yes. Why are these people, foreigners, not put on the chopping block?
Well, the issue there, Pastor, is that it becomes difficult because they engage in what we would refer to, for the lack of a better term, white-collar crime. This is crime that is there before your eyes, but is difficult to prove before the law. In the sense that, for example, foreigners will come and you need to do a road for 10,000 kwacha. Our own people will call the foreigners and say, you do this road, it is 10,000 kwacha. You bring a quotation for 30,000 kwacha. We are going to pay you the money. And when you are paid the money, you must give back to us 20,000 kwacha. And you get the 10. Then he says, yeah, but you have given me at 30, and I give you 20, and I still do the road. Where is my benefit? It means even me, I must reduce on the specs and the quality. So instead of doing the road for 10,000, I'll do it for 7.5, and they agree. Now, these are contractual obligations, and there's a contract set out there. So if a contract is signed for 30,000 for specific road from point A to point B, and it is done, and you go after them and say, but this road, you take them to court. They will stand with their lawyers in court, and they will say, look, we signed a contract for 30,000 to do 10 kilometers. What we have done is 10 kilometers. No, but the road has not stood the test of time. It has gone it has withered. They'll say, yes, but these are the specifications. So let's go on the road and test the specifications, if we met them or not. We go on the road, we find that the specifications that they did there and making a weak road is what was contained in the contract. So that becomes a procurement scam. It becomes theft by our people colluding with the foreigners. So that's what makes it difficult for us as a people from regime, before regime, and after regime to go for the foreigners, because all that criminality is engrossed in the contracts.
But if
and it becomes lawful. For a Zambian, it is different.
Yeah.
We Zambians will come, do this road for 30, some do this road for, it's for 10,000. We'll give you 30, you give us 20, you do the road. Me, a Zambian, will say, oh, Imamadiamo 20. I'll get the 10, and I'll go away, and I'll not even do the road. Nothing completely. So there again, the same contract works now as evidence against you. You signed a contract, yes, sir, to do which road? That road, from point A to point B, yes. Is the road there? No, no, no. You were paid, and the road is not there. So you find that you, as a Zambian, you are caught up. Now, what is the remedy to this? The remedy is to fix the procurement system of the nation. And that is where the country has been bleeding resources. And that is where this administration has hit hard to ensure that there's no more bleeding of that kind. There's no more thievery of that kind. There's no more theft of public resources using contracts. And that is why we have now adopted a system of procuring the right quantity at the right amount and delivered in the right time, so that there are no variations. If your project is 6 months, it must be done within 6 months. No variation, no extension. If the project is supposed to be 10, let it be 10 and not anything more. That is why now you have seen that the same contractor that was to do, for example, the Lusaka dual carriageway for $1.2 billion is back and saying we can do it for $400 million. Because now the Zambian people have put in place an administration and a president who is not only straightforward, but understands what happens both in the public and private sector. But above all, a president that fears God.
Can I say this, Mr. Kawana? I'm asking this because when I say that as Zambians, and Zambia is really in my heart, I want to see it develop. I mentioned the road, but I remember taking in one of the governments, not this UP and the OPF, in one of the governments, I personally took and flew to South Africa to meet the chairman of SASO. SASO is the largest company in Africa producing fertilizer. And I flew with them, I introduced them. He's my friend, even now. We call each other, we talk. The price that he gave the Zambian government, you'd laugh. He's a chairman, he's a believer. It was like this. 2 days after being there, we come back, they import from somewhere with this price. And yet I secured this. Coming to UPND, me, I didn't even know when you floated the tender of fertilizer. You just hear the government has paid 50 million, has paid this. Because truthfully speaking, not that I'm just speaking, yes, so that you understand. The chairman and owner of one of the biggest Brazilian fertilizer company, we are in talking terms. We can land fertilizer here of any kind, including this natural fertilizer. We can land it for a song. But at what time do these tenders float in the nation? We don't even read about them. You just hear, oh, this one has been paid, or this one single sourcing kind of, you know. And I'm talking about things that are in public domain. Yes. You know, you as government, you need to make sure that you ask, is Pastor Chiluba aware? Is Mr. Kumwenda aware that we are floating this? I think that is where I'm leading to as transparency. When you are buying something or what, make it known. Publicize it on ZNBC, Camnet TV, or radios. The moment you do that, the nation will know that Mr. Kawana's government is very transparent.
You watch the space, Pastor.
Mm-hmm.
This government has strengthened the procurement system.
Mm-hmm.
And there will be no underhand tenders being procured by what you would refer to as tenderpreneurs. All public tenders will be in accordance with the Tender Act, will be in accordance, accordingly, will be floated and made public, and everybody will know what government is procuring. I know that there has been sentiment on the ground that this government, upon entry, quickly single-sourced a company to bring in fertilizer and paid that company 50 million kwacha and so on. Now, that is what I had explained to the people, and I want to explain again, that this government is yet to float tender to bring in fertilizers. What happened was that upon entry in office, it was discovered that some provinces were not given adequate fertilizer under the Farmer Input Support Program, and that there was need to bring those provinces to speed. I think there was Copper Belt, I think Western, Northwestern, and so on. Even Southern was there. So there was need to bring those provinces to speed with the rest of the provinces that had received fertilizer. Now, as government, when you come in, you find there are contractual obligations. So this government found that the government had already given 6 companies contracts to supply fertilizer for 2 years, for 2021 and 2022. So there was no way that this government was going to advertise. The only route is to go back on the list of those 6 companies and pick from there so that they supply, because they already have this, they already have a contract with government to supply. So when a decision was made that there was need to bring in fertilizer, the first company that was considered was Nitrogen Chemicals of Zambia, which was given the contract and told to supply the deficit. Nitrogen Chemicals of Zambia supplied. They finished all their stock and came out short with 35,000 metric tons. So now that Nitrogen Chemicals has supplied, and there's still a deficit of 35,000, you still go back to the list of the 6 companies. So you look at which companies performed very well. So you look at those that were given the quantities and they delivered the quantities on time, and some of them even delivered before any iota of payment. Some of them were paid upfront, down payment, and didn't deliver on time. Some of them were paid in full and didn't deliver on time. So you pick the best performing company. In this case, it is Alpha Commodities that was given an opportunity by the PF government to supply 10,000 metric tons. And therefore, after Nitrogen Chemicals had finished their stock, the next company there was Alpha Commodities, which had supplied 10,000 metric tons in the previous regime, and even remained unpaid for their 10,000. But the performance was excellent. And you're looking for excellency. And this is a Zambian company. So you give them the tender. There is nothing like single sourcing. There's nothing like it's a new tender. This is an ongoing contractual obligation. So they are told, can you bring in another 35,000? And they bring in the 35,000. And you pay them as they deliver. So what they bring in, you pay. What they bring in, you pay. So those are the people that ended up being paid 50 million kwacha. It is a clear transaction, a clean transaction. Now, why has it brought talk? It has brought talk because it is believed that one of the directors in there is husband to a minister in government, in this case, my boss, the Minister of Information. Now, let us understand this in earnest, and I hope the viewers are following. That this is a company that was given the tender to supply in the PF regime. My minister was not a minister in the PF regime. And even if you want to align this company to UPND, was it possible that the PF regime would give a UPND company a contract? It tells you that they won that tender based on their performance as a company. And even under this regime, they have again been given an extra 35,000 to bring within the contractual obligation because they are a company that delivers, and they have delivered. And they have been paid. This transaction is extremely clean, and wanting to use sentiments by aligning it to the UPND and aligning it to the minister's spouse cannot hold water, because this is a contract that was given by the previous regime when the spouse was not minister, by the previous regime when, if you say this is a UPND company, they couldn't have gotten it. So here we are dealing with nothing but merit and distinction in service.
What about some companies that we know that performed extremely well and from PF?
Yes.
Right now, Mr. THABO KAWANA, I can tell you there is an outcry that some companies have not been paid their money. They are clean, they are good. From PF, PF didn't pay them, UPND hasn't paid them, and in some cases, 7 months, people have not been paid. Good companies, you know. So when you are dealing with certain issues, I must commend you, because one of the beneficiaries of what the UPND has done is a relative who was paid terminal benefits upon retiring. And the UPND, I must commend you, they've done a good job to pay some of the retirees, and it's a good job. But I'm talking about those companies that performed well, but because they are perceived to be PF, or they are perceived to have aligned themselves to Edgar, and those companies, their money is on hold when you can pay them. They've delivered, they've done the work. What would be your say to such?
Any company that has transacted with the government overboard and have not engaged themselves in criminality, in fraudulent activities, have no worry. The process of auditing is ongoing, and those companies that are being cleared to having transacted themselves with government in a clean manner and their owed money genuinely are being paid. Because, you see, the companies are commingled with those other fraudulent companies that did not even supply a thing. Those that supplied umwela and are also lined up for money. You are owed 7 million kwacha for having done nothing. You did not supply, you did not meet your contractual obligations, and you want to be paid. So an audit is being carried out to ensure that whoever ought to be paid is paid because they are genuinely owed by government. So companies are being sorted out, companies are being paid. But the process may take a little bit longer because of the audit to ensure that only the right companies are paid. There are people who are being owed money, Pastor, for roads, for feeder roads that allegedly did, and they were given a down payment of 60%, and they didn't move a shovel on that road. They are lined up currently looking for the 40%.
Those you have already said, yes. they don't deserve.
Yes.
They don't deserve.
So because they don't deserve and others deserve, but they are all together, hence the audit. So those that deserve are being paid. So the assurance I can give the nation is that for as long as you transacted with the government and you did things well and clean, trust us, you are going to be paid. But if you did things fraudulently, you have to answer for your actions. So the assurance I'm giving you, Pastor, is that all companies that are owed by government and have no issues will be paid. And in fact, they are being paid. So it's just a process.
Can I ask you, in 6 months, Mr. Kawana, remember when we were here, the last time you were in cabinet, I asked you a question to say all these ministers, PSs, all these people that the president has appointed, are there no corrupt people in this? And of course you answered intellectually that time will tell and all this. I want to repeat the same question. Do you think that there are some corrupt elements in the UPND now?
Well, I don't think so, because I don't know so. To know if there are corrupt elements, they must be found wanting. So if there's any evidence out there, or any people, groupings, or organizations that know of individuals in government, including myself, that are engaged in corruption, let them report to the relevant authority, and we will know that this person has been accused, and most likely they will be set aside, and they will be taken before the courts of law, and they will answer for their actions, and the courts will find them guilty or not guilty, and life will go on. So for now, it is difficult or impossible to say there are corrupt ministers among our ministers, because nobody has been cited. So until such a time that one is cited, then we will know that, oh, actually, among us, there are these ministers, there are these PSs, there are these directors, there are these procurement officers, there are these, regardless of position, that are working in the current administration and are corrupt. So for as long as nothing is reported, we cannot judge people based on speculation. Because sometimes our people will half the time react with emotions based on misinformation. So you cannot judge people based on misinformation. You can't call somebody corrupt because the people say so. I've seen people say, this one we used to live with them. They are corrupt now, because I've seen in their yard, there is even now a brand new big vehicle parked there, a GX. And you know, when you are passing the way the gates are, Pastor, from here going down, it's a barricaded sheet, and going up to my pause. So when you are passing, what you are seeing is a vehicle from the door going up to the roof, and you can tell that is a GX. So when you're driving by, you say, KAWANA walensha GX, walensha ka Corona na ka Vitz, is corrupt. And the way it goes around to corrupt, without knowing that when you open the door, the number plate is GRZ. So you cannot judge people based on that. Let's have people reported for the acts that they are doing that border on corruption.
I see that, Mr. Kawana, you are a leader.
Yes.
You are a leader in the sense that even President Lungu, when he was being told, there are some people who are corrupt here, he would say, I need evidence. Bring evidence. And being a lawyer, he insisted on evidence.
Yes.
But now you are coming on, you are saying that one is corrupt. These tenders, you know, it's the people who were seeing, not the president.
Yes.
It is the people who have this information, like you rightly defined, that for you, people will come and tell you what you like, because they want to associate themselves with the director for favors, the president for favors. But when people come to us, like you rightly said, they come naked. And when they begin talking, this one, that one, my role is to just bring a clear question, like I've brought it to you. Do you think there are some corrupt elements in there? And
in this administration. That is why I'm saying, Pastor, that I do not think so.
Okay, let me help you.
I have not heard so.
Okay, let me help you. Let me help you, Mr. Kawana. Yes, they are.
Yes. So
why I'm saying yes, they are, because the Bible says the heart of man is desperately wicked and corrupt above all things. No one can know the heart of a person except God. For you, you are just seeing the water flowing. You don't know the current. When my wife and I visited the Niagara Falls, if you're coming from the American side, you are going towards where it pours down, which is the Canadian-American side. I think about 60 meters, there is a line drawn on that river. They say 60 meters before the downfall, 70 meters. I cannot be precise. But there is a line where they say beyond this point, no rescue. The reason being, Mr. Kawana, the water from the top looks normal, even when it's going to pour. But when you cross that line, the current underneath, not even the fire brigade can rescue you. Even if you are pedaling a boat or you have a machine, once it goes there, it's like you are going in that hole. What is it called? The black hole in the West Indies. It's called the
Bermuda Triangle.
Bermuda Triangle. You know that Bermuda Triangle, planes, ships, before they discovered, went under because of the power. Now what I'm saying is, to you and me, we may look that everything is smooth, but there is a line where only God should help the president and the ministers to open his eyes and see. But for me as a pastor, without pointing this one, that one, I can tell you that as long as a person doesn't know God, does not fear God, they are bound to be corrupt. And there is a lot going on here underneath until when the cases start coming. We will sit one day in the studio here, Mr. Kawana, and I will tell you that I asked you this question after 6 months.
Yes.
Because not everything is smooth.
Yes.
You know, this is where you need pastors.
And when we sit and there are issues that have come out, my answer to you will be that, yes, Pastor, there are corrupt elements among us, like this one and that one, who did this and that. For now, we
you can't.
It is smooth. So let's hit the Bermuda Triangle. Then now we say, we can't stop it.
I'm telling you.
Until we reach that time.
No, I am praying for you. I'm praying for President Lungu, President HH.
Yes.
And in most cases, take my word to him.
Yes, sir.
Presidents are loved when they are in power because of appointments. But where my president is, HH, there could be even elements working against his leadership, but they are in UPND. There could be people who the president says, let's go this side, they are pulling on the other side. And those you should expect.
Yes, such is expected in life. Always, when you reach a certain achievement in life, not everybody is happy around you. Some will plot against you, and some that you have carried with you to achieve that goal will, behind your back, be working against that goal because it works against their evil intentions. But when they are exposed, decisive action is taken. And if there's one thing the Zambian people will come to learn and understand about this particular president, is that he does not deal with fear or favor. If you find yourself on the wrong side of the law, you will face the law. That is why this country today is sitting in a peaceful environment without cadreism, without extortion that became the order of the day by cadres. Cadres are part and parcel of the political party. And that is how you keep your cadres happy, by allowing them to go and terrorize companies, terrorize individuals, make money for themselves, so that you concentrate on other things and they can do what they want. And all the atrocities they commit, and when they're brought to you, pay a blind eye. Not this president. He has said his mandate is to save the people of Zambia. And when he has chosen you, and he warned, he took time to appoint his cabinet and appoint permanent secretaries. And he warns that if your desire is to come and do what you see your colleagues that were here before you were doing, think twice. So even when I appoint you, you must know that this is my trajectory. It will be zero tolerance towards corruption, towards abuse of office, towards misusing public funds, towards abusing the people. So if you form part of my team, these are the rules of the game. And if you go against those rules, you will suffer the consequences. And I can assure the nation that anybody amongst us that are privileged to be part and parcel of this government, because it is not a right that we are part and parcel. There are many people that deserve the positions that we are in. Most of them better qualified than ourselves. Therefore, this is not a right. It is a privilege that we are here. And we must utilize this opportunity to serve the people of Zambia to the delight of God. So, those of us who have this privilege here, if we abuse it, I can assure the people of Zambia that this particular leader will not spare us. And you will not answer to him. You will answer to the law.
Yeah, all leaders, I must say, and I must commend them, all the president I've dealt with, from President Kaunda, they mean well, I must say. I'll tell you something, that one day I paid, I used to visit President FTJ when he left power, and one day we were just chatting, may so rest in peace, we were just chatting about his tenure in the office. Then he says, Pastor, to be a president, it's a lonely job. To be a president, can you imagine that case you heard about, Pastor? This case and this case. I didn't even know. People were going and said, the president has said this, because they are connected to me. They would get this, and the President Chiluba lamented. There were a lot of dead things. Dr. Kaunda, same thing. When I used to visit him, may their souls rest in peace. Same thing. So I know for sure that President HH is not an angel. There are people doing things in the name of UPND. I'm telling you.
Well, and we can assure you that once discovered, they will face the music, they will face the consequences, and they will face the law. And the law stipulates what sort of punishment accrues to a person that breaks it. And therefore that punishment will accrue to such a peoples, because this president will not deal with you using favor or fear. You will be dealt with regardless of your political affiliation, political position, religious affiliation, creed, color, or skin. You will be dealt with in accordance with the law.
Two things before I open the lines for the people to call us, Mr. Kawana. Free education.
Yes, sir.
Do you know the side effects of the free education? The president means well. He promised the people, I'm going to bring free education, which he has brought. But are you aware that with that pronouncement, some so-called government officials with influential offices, are you aware that they are taking their children from private schools, taking them to government schools, occupying positions which a grandmother in Mutendere wants a place at this school, they are all taken. And have you done some homework? Me, I'm a pastor, I'm telling you now what is happening.
Yes.
Some headmasters have been threatened. Other people have even come to Kamnet TV to cover this as news. That one threatened me, that one, I said, no. We cannot be malicious. Deal with it. I counsel them as a pastor. There are a lot of things that are going on, even in the order of acquiring the scholarships at university and what. There are a lot of things that are happening. Now, I'm not in power, but you are, and I'm bringing this to you, that as the government taken time to look at the modalities on how to stop these vices, which are
mushrooming.
Yeah.
Well, I'll start with a small correction, and I always emphasize this. we are not in power. We are in office.
Oh, you are in office.
The
That's
power
right.
is with you.
Okay.
The power will always remain with the people. That's why we go back to them every 5 years to ask if we can continue or not. And that's why they hire and fire.
Since I'm in power,
yes,
now I'm telling you, please investigate.
Yes, sir.
You are in the office.
Yes, sir. We will investigate.
Yeah.
But you know that with every program, it comes with teething problems, and they are being sorted out as we roll out. Firstly, our skeptics were very sure that we would never bring about free education. But President Hakainde Hichilema was so sure of what he was talking about, and he knew what he wanted to come and do. He is a beneficiary of free education himself. From a small boy in the village that walked bare feet, all through grade 1, through to grade 12, through to university, he was educated, compliments of the people of Zambia. And he said to the people of Zambia during the campaign run-up that I assure you that when I become president with your compliments, I will give to the people what the people gave to me, free education. And now we have brought about the free education. It has teething problems. One of the problems is, for example, overcrowding. That there is overcrowding in the classes. And sometimes we should ask ourselves as a people that we have got colleagues who are boasting here that they've built hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of schools. Tells you that the infrastructure is not there. So that overcrowding is twofold. Number one, it shows that there was a hunger for education out there. There was a hunger for people wanting to send their children to school. But the exorbitance of the financial responsibilities around taking the children to school was hindering them. The PTA fees, the examination fees, the school fees, the user fees, and they couldn't afford. They opted to keep their children at home and raise illiterate and uneducated children, which already was a baseline setting a nation on a trajectory of poverty. Because in the absence of education, a nation that is full of uneducated and illiterate people is bound for poverty, no questions. So we have opened it up to bring every Zambian child to be given an opportunity to go to school, compliments of the people of Zambia. The government is paying. The examination fees gotten rid of. The user fees gotten rid of. The examination fees gotten rid of. The PTA gotten rid of. And government has taken that mandate and has said to the schools, we will give you the school grants and therefore allow the people. So the overcrowding is showing you that there was hunger out there, and now the people have responded positively. What do we do with this overcrowding? There are two things it brings about. Number one, it is bringing strain on the teachers because already the teacher-pupil ratio was unbearable. And with the overcrowding, it means that now the teachers are overwhelmed. It is no longer a burden. It is completely overwhelming. So what do? Number one, we ensure that all those schools are dotted around the country, over 115 of them, that were being built and were left at some stage, 60, 70, 80%, will be finished by this government within this year. So that we open up spaces. Number two, within the CDF, there is room for every constituency there to enhance their existing school infrastructure by building 3x4, 2x2, 1x1 classroom blocks. So we expect again that via CDF we'll have more classroom space created. Then to deal with the teacher-pupil ratio, we are bringing on board 30,000 teachers to join the current in-service teachers, so that now as the children are being shared across the infrastructure, they are also being shared across the teachers, so that we have dealt with the infrastructure, we have dealt with the teachers. But do we need to wait until such a time? No. Let's get the children in school. Once the children are in school, we get the teachers in, we get the infrastructure rolling. So this is a program that we remain ever so proud of, and also it is a program that the people of Zambia have indicated to us that they are grateful. The questions the people have been asking is, when are you employing these 30,000 teachers? It is a song. And that is why yesterday, Cabinet was among the crew that I carried with me to Lusaka West, where the process of cleaning up the system is being concluded. It is 90% done, because after agreeing that we are going to bring on board 30,000 teachers, we realized that the education sector, the ministry itself, was in a mess. What mess? You've had teachers in there currently now who have been teaching and not on payroll. They're working, but they're not on payroll. They're appointed teachers, genuinely appointed, genuinely recruited by government, but they're not on payroll. So at the end of the month, as their friends rush to the bank to pick up their salaries, they have nothing. There's nothing as painful as that, to work and not be paid. Number two, there are teachers who have been in acting positions as senior teachers, as deputy heads, as heads. Some of them have acted for 8 years and beyond. How do you act for 8 years and beyond when you are supposed to act maximum 6 months? 3 months and another 3 months extension, 6 months. 8 years, someone is acting, not being confirmed. There are other teachers who have reached retirement age and are not being retired because the system is behind. So in order to bring the 30,000 teachers on board, we needed to make sure that the system is cleaned. So the process started in January by ensuring that this is dealt with at district level, to take stock of all the teachers at district level, those that need to be on payroll, those that need to be promoted, those that need to be elevated, those whose salary scales need to be changed, to be given the correct notch. Because you have got teachers who started teaching with a school certificate, a teaching certificate. But over the years, they have upgraded themselves. Some are holding degrees, some are holding master's degrees. But the salary scale, they still remain at a teacher certificate level. That makes people frustrated. So that process began at the district. It was escalated to the province, and now at national level for final culmination, so that the system is properly cleaned. Once it is cleaned, the teachers are being brought on board. This process was given a time frame, which is to be done by 31st March this year. But when we went to see, to get an update of what was going on there yesterday, the DEBs, the HRs, the PEOs, and so on, everybody who's there working extremely hard throughout the days, Saturday, Sunday, they're working, they've been there over a month. They have done a good job such that they have beat the deadline of 31st March. They are saying that in the next 4 days, they will be able to complete the process. So when that process is completed, what happens is that people will be moved. So those to be retired are retired. Those to be promoted are promoted. And those to be, once they are promoted, what is happening is that
there will be a gap.
Yes, there will be a gap. So spaces will be created. Those spaces accrue to the 30,000. So it now becomes 30,000 plus. So all those now will now be brought on board, so that then we have the 30,000 recruited and have a clean educational system, so that we have people that are supposed to be promoted are in their right positions. Those that need to be confirmed are confirmed. So that is what we are doing. And the teacher recruitment program is there now. It has gone to a point where, like I announced yesterday, look out for the ministerial statement by the Minister of Education that will be rendered before Parliament. In that ministerial statement, the details contained therein is now the process of how and when we are recruiting the teachers and what categories of teachers are being recruited. But I can safely say here, Pastor, that we are there. We have arrived at that 30,000. So I saw teachers protesting. And their protest was that we are teachers recruited, but we are not on payroll. And they wanted to march to State House, and they were diverted back to Ministry of Education, and they were addressed by the PS. Two things arise from there. Number one, they protested. It was impossible 6 months ago to protest in this country. The moment you congregate to protest, you could not survive that. They will arrest you and go.
Like it was with the doctor.
Yes. So the same police that was doing that to them goes to tell them you can't go to State House, go to the ministry, we shall escort you for an orderly procession. Professionalism. Number two, they are pushing an open door because their matter has been resolved. It has been resolved. They are being put on payroll. The second group is that of the doctors. They are protesting. There are about 800 doctors. They want to be employed. The government provided for employment of 11,200 health workers. Pastor, hear me right? Health workers, not doctors. In that health workers, they are complementary staff, or what you refer to as support staff.
Cleaners.
They are cleaners.
Nurses. Administrators.
Yes.
Doctors.
Porters. So, for example, when you fall sick, if I fall sick in your studio, Pastor, you pick up the phone and call an ambulance. The ambulance will come and pick me up. It is being driven by a driver, not a doctor. I'll be on the ambulance. I'll have paramedics attending to me on the ambulance.
Before you
not a doctor. When I arrive at the hospital, the nurses will come and receive me, not the doctor. And the porter will come and put me on the stretcher and wheel me to the ward, not the doctor. Then finally, I'll see the doctor. The doctor will now prescribe what needs to be given to me by the nurse. The nurse also will work with the porter to rush to pharmacy to pick up. So the 11,200 is for the health workers. And these are in different categories, not doctors alone.
But aren't you glad, Mr. Kawana, that since independence, Zambia has produced so many doctors that instead of putting those doctors to waste, why not create jobs for them? Why not build clinics and hospitals? Because definitely, when you look at the ratio of doctors to the population of Zambia, they are a drop in the ocean. Yes, there could be more
the doctors are needed, but for the doctors to function, they need support staff. The doctor will not go to work and operate in an environment that is dirty. The doctor will not work.
No, I understand that.
Okay?
I'm just saying, why can't you, as government, find room to accommodate these who are graduating?
That is being done. We must also understand that these 11,200 health workers that have been recruited and the 30,000 teachers that have been recruited have been recruited for 2022.
2022.
For this year. So we don't even know what will happen in 2023, 24, 25, 26. But for 2022, we are bringing on board 30,000 teachers and we're bringing about 11,200 workers. Number two, one of the conditions that is given to the doctors is that upon graduation, they cannot go and work in private institutions without first working for the government for about 2 years or so. And that is their cry. Their cry is, you can't absorb us. So why are you not allowing us to go and work in the private sector? So you are locking us. You are not able to absorb us, and you have also barred us from working in the private hospitals. That requires legislation to be changed.
Are you also aware, sorry Mr. Kawana, are you also aware that there are no drugs in the hospitals?
Yes, sir, I'm coming to that in a minute. So these doctors will want that if government won't take us, at least allow us to go and work in the private sector. Legislation is being looked at. So all this is being sorted out. The doctors will be consumed. How many of the doctors out of the 800 will be consumed is what the technocrats right now are finalizing. And the Minister of Health will render a ministerial statement on the floor of the House and will be able to give the final details. How many out of the 11,000 are doctors, are nurses, are porters, and so on. So that is done. So that at the end of the day, the 11,200 recruited are to render a service to the people. Because the person does not need just a doctor. The person needs a clinical officer. They need a nurse. They need all these people. So these are being recruited in the 11,200. As to regards to their issue, which they have raised prominently about working in private sector, ministry is looking into that. And legislation is being coined around that. It cannot be a statement you wake up one day and say, okay, yeah, you can go and work in the private sector. There's legislation attached to that. And legislation will be relooked to ensure that at the end of the day it benefits both the private and the public sector, but at the end of the day it accrues as a benefit to the patient who is a Zambian person. Are there drugs in hospitals? There's problems right now with drugs in hospitals. Again, falls back on two issues: procurement and the corruption thereof of the procurement. And that's what we are doing now, cleaning up the system. I think you saw what happened at ZAMSA. The entire management currently has been put on forced leave. The house is being cleaned. A board has been put there, headed by one of Zambia's permanent daughters. Prominent, I must say, not permanent.
Who is that?
Madam Anna Chifungula.
Oh, Anna Chifungula. Oh, she
This
was,
is, former Auditor General.
Yes.
There's a strong board that minister, and she must be commended for that, that minister has put in place at ZAMSA, chaired by Madam Chifungula. Put in place same day, first thing they do, first leave to investigate what is going on there. We've heard stories, I think they've been in the media, drugs with 216,000 start off from ZAMSA, going to the hospital. Fika pakati panjira mankhwala asowa. The hospital has not received, but there they have checked out, but they've just disappeared in between. And end result, the hospital that was expected to receive the drugs, no drugs there. End result, the people go to the hospital, no drugs there. So it is a rotten system. Just like we are cleaning up the system in education, we are doing the same in health. Very soon, because these cleanups have reached an advanced stage, very soon all these will now be nipped in the bud, so that now a smooth system is put in place where the drugs are there. In all hospitals, drugs will be there. In all clinics, drugs will be there, so that our people do not suffer. There's also a second element to it. The issue to do with NEMA, for example. We have moved NEMA from the Ministry of Health because NEMA is a social scheme and was not sitting well under the Ministry of Health. We have moved the NEMA away from Ministry of Health and put it under the Ministry of Labor because it is a social security scheme. It's an insurance scheme. Now, with the little that the Zambians are able to pay to be a member of NEMA, they have got benefits to access medication, expensive medication. For example, one of the drugs that the people were complaining about was to do with chemotherapy, cancer. The drugs involved in treating cancer were scarce, not available at the hospital, and very expensive in private pharmacies and chemists. Today, by you joining NEMA, paying like 50 kwacha a month on NEMA, you can access that same medication, which is 4,000 kwacha. Out of your 50 kwacha, you are able to access medication with 4,000 kwacha. Who pays? Your government. So it shows you that we are running a robust program under health to ensure that the benefits accrue to the Zambian people. Under NEMA, we have ensured that most of the drugs that are essential and expensive and difficult for our people to get have been covered under NEMA so that they access them. I am a renal patient myself. I go for dialysis, what you would refer to normally as kidney failure. So my kidneys don't work, so I survive on dialysis. On dialysis, we have got consumables that are used every time you go for dialysis. You've got an injection that has to be injected in you to ensure that the blood doesn't clot, because the journey of moving blood from you to the machine and back in you is quite long. And if you're not careful, the blood clots. So there's a drug that every time you go for dialysis has to be injected. Very difficult. It's called heparin. Very difficult for our people. That drug has also been included under NEMA, and our people are receiving it. They just go to the chemist, produce your NEMA card, and you are given, and you sign for it. So everybody is given the quantity that is required for them to use for their dialysis for the month. So the following month, they go and...
I come in as a preacher.
Yes.
The Lord is able to heal you.
Yes, thank you very much.
And we must believe God, and I say that seriously. The Lord is able to heal. It's the same yesterday, today, and forever. But that we will talk outside the studio.
Yes, sir.
Because you are an asset to this nation, and we cannot just leave matters to that so that you depend on the machines. God must step in. He is a creator.
So that is the issue with the drug scenario. We want it cleaned up to a point where our people must no longer have this kind of difficulties. They must be able to find the drugs in the hospital, and if the hospital does not have the drug, they'll pick up a prescription from the hospital and they'll go to the private pharmacies and chemists and collect that expensive medication, and the government will pay for them because they are on the NEMA scheme. And that is why it is important that every Zambian must subscribe to the NEMA scheme. It is extremely cheap. Imagine the benefit, Pastor, if you are paying 50 kwacha per month, but you are able to exercise, to access medicine with 8,000 kwacha in a month.
You see, this is why I like inviting you here. This information, the government doesn't offload there. There are a lot of people who are being swindled by private hospitals, giving them things which are even expired. But somebody listening to this National Matters program, they've heard that you can subscribe 50 kwacha, even if you are poor. You don't have to start subscribing when you are sick. You subscribe now, 50 kwacha, and if it's the whole year you want to pay, one can pay, isn't it?
Yes.
It's only 600 kwacha. You have 600 kwacha, you have paid. If it's 2 years, 1,200, you are safe. Why wait to come and pay for a drug which is 5,000?
When you are, and when you are sick, you have to access a drug which is 5,000 kwacha.
This is why
So all these, Pastor, are things that this administration is doing to ameliorate the lives of our people, because we understand that the cost of living is quite high. So it is already difficult to find money for food, let alone medication. And these are the measures that we are putting in place to ensure that our people have access to good quality medication at the expense of government. But you said something here about people being swindled, and it has just clicked my mind. And allow me to digress a little bit, Pastor. I have seen today on social media an announcement going around that some agency called the recruitment something is they are recruiting in the police, they are recruiting in the army, they are recruiting in. I want the viewers to know that that is fake. It is not true. There's even a WhatsApp number there. Government will never recruit using a WhatsApp number. So that is a scam, and people need to know that that is a scam. They should not subscribe to that. They should dismiss it with the contempt it deserves. It is fake, and government is not employing in that fashion.
Well, we were also swindled some time back last year. Somebody calls me, Pastor Chiruga, I enjoy your preaching. I'm a Camnet follower. He spoke and flattered me, Mr. Kawana, and said, I'm a believer to the bone. And we are employing at ZESCO. Please, to reward you, give me 10, 15 people. Let me. Before I knew it, the man ran away with 1,500 to some people, 1,000. The time we reported to the government, the police officers there, I don't know. So I paid every money.
I don't know if your camera is able to pick this. This is the advert going around.
Yeah.
You can see what it is saying there.
They can pick. Can you pick this, my dear? Please zoom and pick this.
So that advert is fake. You can see there saying March recruitment notice. This is to inform all Zambians that the following are now recruiting: Zambia Police, Zambia National Service, Zambia Air Force, Zambia Army, ZAWA, Zambia Correctional Services, Forest Officer. The recruitment is for March. Send in your NRC and CV to the commander in charge on WhatsApp line. There's a number. That is a fake notification. Government can never recruit like that, and I want to appeal to the nation to dismiss this with the contempt it deserves. do not attempt to contact these people, do not attempt to send any document to these people. It is fake.
Why haven't you arrested
the police? Have been notified. They are on it now. So the relevant law enforcement agencies are working around the clock. These culprits, I suspect, will be brought to book by tomorrow. Yes, sir.
Finally, because I go back to the issue of fertilizer.
Yes.
From time immemorial, I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 companies who normally supply fertilizer in this nation. Are they also subject to be audited? Are they audited by this government, or?
Everybody who transacts with government and will continue transacting with government and has transacted with government is subject to being audited. We need to know who is owed, how they are owed, if it's true or not. We need to know who is being engaged or re-engaged, if they are clean people or not. So everybody is being checked.
Mr. Kawana, I'm so grateful, and tell my president, Bali, that in all your appointments, don't walk away from the church. Like they say, separate church from government. That's a lie from the devil. Because even on these boards, I'm not canvassing for myself, but even on these boards, when you appoint certain notable clergy, you can't go wrong, because the information that comes through offices of the clergy, it can save your government. Yes. It can save this nation. Yes. You know, so don't look at pastors and say those guys are down. They never went high in society or in academically. This is why we are loaded. In the interest of time, I want to open the lines now. Please call. And when you call, avoid bringing demeaning words to my guest. This is not just another channel. There has to be order. If you are debating, debate intellectually, debate with facts. Also, avoid attacking people who are not in the studio, who cannot defend themselves, and avoid calling people names which they do not deserve. This nation is a great nation. Even you were born for greatness. Control your emotions, control your temper, control everything that you can control about yourself. But as you ask Mr. Thabo Kawana, as you ask me, as you ask the nation, please, let's be objective. Let's build this nation, irrespective of tribe, irrespective of party belonging and whatever. We are Zambians. May the Lord bless this great nation of Zambia. The lines are opened. If you don't get through, please keep on trying, because sometimes the lines can be busy. Mr. Kawana, economics, all these investigations, what, I come into my lane. How are we going to build this nation with love, unity, and forgiveness? I am not saying if I stole this chair, you should just say, okay, Pastor, we love you, we forgive you. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying, how are we going to bring this tension? If you can't feel it, because you are in the office. You know, in the office, usually there are air conditions. But when you are in the street, it is so hot. How are we going to bridge these tensions? PF, UPND, this. How are we going to build this nation together? Let me answer this caller. Let's pick up this call. Hello, good evening. What's your name and where are you calling us from, sir?
This is Mr. Munanyanga, from Kabwe.
Mr. Munanyanga from Kabwe.
Yes.
Please go ahead and ask your question, Mr. Munanyanga.
No, not a question. Just trying to compliment what Mr. Kawana rejoice. And when we are very grateful with the new government, what we just need is to support this government. And looking past over, we are very keep motivating these people so that they can do a good job for the people of Zambia. So that's all.
Thank you, Mr. Munanyanga. Very brief. Yes. He says we should support this government and what they are doing.
No, I'm grateful for our caller, Mr. Munanyanga from Kabwe.
From Kabwe, yeah.
Thank you very much for the compliments. And to answer your question, Pastor, I'll begin on the note of air conditioning. It shows you that
I'm telling you.
Thank you very much. So remember that the clarion call of this administration is threefold. Reunite the nation, rebuild the economy, create opportunities. That is job, business, but opportunities for our people to be able to survive and create opportunities for employment and so on. So these remain core. That is why what was expected was that because there is a change of government, there will be a clear sweep. Everybody will be cleaned up. Excuse me, sorry. Everybody will be cleaned up. But to the contrary, I think you have seen how the president has demonstrated that it is not everybody you get rid of. Of course, when you take over, you need your own people to do your own things, to carry out your own vision. But you don't get rid of everybody. Because in the process of getting rid of everybody, you even risk getting rid of institutional memory. Then you get to a point where
you are stuck.
The late president will tell you, so you can't get yourself to that position. So you carry along people. One of the sentiments I was very happy and humbled to hear yesterday as I went to visit the teachers and the crew that is at Lusaka West doing this teacher recruitment. They said to me, Mr. Kawana, if you are going to see the president, please tell him that we are shocked that we can still be in office today. We are civil servants. We serve the government of the day. So we served the PF because we are in office. And now we serve you because we are in office. And we really expected after being threatened that we'll be fired. We have not been fired.
But how can you fire teachers?
You see? No, they are different people. They are administrators, they are teachers.
Yes.
So, for me, I think that was a good call to demonstrate that ours is to reunite the nation. The president is addressing Parliament on Friday.
Let's pick up this call, Mr. Kawana. Hello, good evening.
Good evening. Good evening.
How are you, sir?
I'm fine, thank you, National Professor.
Permanently blessed. What's your name and where are you calling us from?
I'm Joshua Mulenga.
Joshua
from Mufrera.
Mulenga.
Yes, sir.
Please go ahead and speak to the nation.
Good evening, THABO.
Good morning, good evening, Geoffrey.
Joshua.
Joshua.
THABO, first I want to congratulate you on the way you're coming out on national matters. And for me, this is what we need. We need communication. We need you, people in leadership, to be talking to us. There are a lot of questions, there are a lot of outstanding issues we want to get from you. But it looks like we are not given the necessary information. This government is doing well. But how well it's doing depends on how you are communicating with us. I know that you will say, we doing well with a lot of the new parliament, radio, news, TV, government or whatever. But how many of us out here are privileged to have this access to this, to Facebook, to all these roads? I think we need to do more as the government in office, like you said. We need to do more on communication. Because even though we've got a lot of contradicting statements from ministry. In the energy ministry, we want to see a situation where everybody knows the line, and we want effective communication to us. You need to be talking to us. Thank you so much for we will support.
But do you think, Mr. Joseph Mulenga, are you there?
Joshua Mulenga, sir.
But Joshua Mulenga, do you think Cabinet is trying to inform you?
Yes, sir, you did a very good job, and you are not just another channel. We thank you so much, and God bless the channel.
Thank you. This is why I love Mr. Kawana, because he is full of information to educate the people.
Yes, thank you very much, Uncle Joseph from Mufurira there. One of the things my minister has done is that she has said to me, there is a lot of information that needs to go out there to the people. So she doesn't like seeing me hovering around the office. She tells me, go out there and inform the people. She's comfortable when I'm out there on radio engaging the people. And her instruction to me is that when you go on radio and you have 2 hours on radio, just speak for 15 minutes. The other 1 hour, 45 minutes, let the people talk to you. Answer their queries. Quench the thirst for information which is out there. And that's what we are doing. And that's why I keep going around the country on different radio stations. Among the radio stations I have been to, and I'm going to again, is Radio Mafken in Mufurira. And we go there and we engage the people and we open the lines and the people are asking and we are able to answer what their government is doing for them. What this program is doing is that it is exposing what government is doing for its people and informing the people and therefore bringing the people and the government to move in tandem. So I agree with Uncle Joseph in Mufurira. Joshua. I agree with him in Mufurira there that a lot more needs to be done, and I can assure you that a lot more is being done. I can assure the nation that my minister is on us every day. What have you done today? What have you informed the nation today? So every time we report to the office, the minister wants to know, what have you informed the nation today? What are the issues? This is what is coming out. Have you told the people the information? So we are working hard, and we are grateful that we have a great leadership from our minister, great leadership from our peers, and we are moving to ensure that the nation is informed.
One of the things, let's pick up this call. Hello? Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Who is calling and where are you calling us from?
I'm Musonda, calling you within Rufata.
Mr. Musonda, go ahead and speak to the nation.
Yes, I would like first of all to thank you, Cynthia, for bringing Mr. Kawana on the program. Yes, and one of the things I would want to speak is your prophetic word. You've actually put it across to him in a very good way. Let them listen to you because you are the contact of the people and God. I'm very optimistic that this government should succeed. But they can't succeed without listening to the cries of the people on the ground. Yes. So one of the things is to get in touch with the Greek. Because you have more information than what they have. And people cannot reach them so easily, but they can reach to you. Then the other second thing is on the NIMA. I think you explained very well on the NIMA. My challenge is its position. It's very easy to access the medication on NIMA. For example, if you go to Chingwele, the one clinic, it's very difficult for people to have access to the medicine because in most cases there is no officer, or if there is the officer, there is no nearby pharmacy where they can go and get the medicine. So it's easier for them because they are at that level. But NEMA is and see what is happening. I think that's my contribution.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Musonda. Firstly,
yes, thank you.
He thanks you for the information, but that NEMA issue has brought here.
No, thank you very much, Mr. Musonda, and I think it is important that we clarify the matter. Firstly, NEMA is not the one giving you the medicine, and it's not the one there at the hospital to give you the medicine. NEMA is an insurance scheme, so you subscribe to it. So when you go to the hospital, you can produce your NEMA card. And if the hospital does not have the medicine, in most cases now they don't have the medicine, the hospital will write for you a prescription. You take that prescription to NEMA accredited pharmacies or chemists and present it and present your NEMA card. The pharmacy will write down your NEMA card and will give you the medicine free of charge, and you walk away. So getting that NEMA card, the number, your number, they will now claim from NEMA that we gave Musonda drugs for cancer with 8,000 and the NEMA pays them. That's the way it works.
Won't there be some corruption there if I take this card and to a NEMA accredited pharmacy?
Yes.
I get the medication for 500. Are there no chances
No,
of
the system is automated. So what you get, you are as good as buying, only that you are not giving them the money. So once your number is entered, it is activated. So already on NEMA's server, they're able to see that THABO has gone to this pharmacy and has collected this medicine with this batch. So at the end of the month, when they bring their claims, they will check on their against their record, and they will know who collected what and how much it was worth, and they'll pay. So the system is tight enough that there's no room for cheating. The only thing is that our people are able to go to these accredited pharmacies and collect medication as though they were buying, only they're not producing money.
Oh, I go back. How do we unite the nation?
Yes, sir. We unite the nation by ensuring that we make government and public resources available to everyone, regardless of political affiliation. It should never be that what needs to accrue to you as a citizen will only do so if you are a member of the UPND Alliance. It will be because you are a Zambian. It should not accrue to you that only if you are a member of the UPND Alliance, then you have access to employment. It should do so because you are a Zambian. And that is the first point of unification. And that's what this government has demonstrated, even in its appointments. You have heard other people complain bitterly. This one you have appointed is PF. But because this government is looking at what you can contribute to the country, your credentials, and what is on you is that you are a Zambian, qualified and be able to do the job, you'll be given an opportunity. If we begin to look at you as you are PF, you are Dedo Zamkano, you are this party, you are that party, then we are already dividing the nation as we start.
We must also, Mr. Kawana, take deliberate. I always insist on this. If you and a notable PF and MMD people are found drinking coffee, chatting and laughing, and the Camnet TV crew finds you, UPND, MMD, PF, laughing and chatting, and you are talking wonderfully, and we capture and interview you, you know that will send a signal to the nation.
That's very important.
There has to be love. My wife and I spoke to your Secretary General of the party and also the Secretary General of PF. I'm yet to contact the MMD and Socialist Party and all this, where we have planned that you people, you should come and we have a football match. And by the way, I will be the referee.
Oh, yeah. If you can run fast. If you can still run.
No, I can run. Even if I can't run, I will see
from the seat.
I will see where PF is making mistakes and where UPND, I will give the red card. I mean, we should have a lot of things and interaction. You know, we only have one Zambia. Think of what is happening in Ukraine. People running into different countries, leaving their families. It will not happen to Zambia, but we need to, peace doesn't just come like this. You work on it.
Yes.
Love should just be flowing.
It is amongst our national values, and the president is addressing parliament and talking and giving an update to the nation in as far as our national values are concerned. And that is why it is important to observe national days and not politicize them. Days like the International Women's Day falling tomorrow, days like the National Youth Day coming in a few days' time. We shouldn't politicize them. These are opportunities that show up for us to come together and work as a nation. So it gives sadness when you hear political stakeholders, for example, say we are not participating. But we are happy also to note that within the political establishments, the people themselves are saying that for us we are coming, because we cannot be told not to be part of it. This is a national program. I also heard firstly, yesterday, the Central Committee of the PF, for example, said they're not going to participate. When I was coming to the studio, I heard another audio of Mr. Chishimba Kambwiri saying this is wrong. We mustn't go that route. These are national events and we must participate. So that debate is already amongst themselves, which is very good and very healthy. But suffices to say that as government, it gives pleasure to see all stakeholders come together on such national days so that we commemorate and celebrate together. All those work towards unification. I am aware, for example, Pastor, that you are championing, you have talked about the football match between the government and the opposition. All that is aimed at unifying the country. And like you have said, it is important for us to be seen together with the people who are perceived to be political opponents or political enemies. Because people can be political opponents because you oppose each other in politics. But that does not accrue to become enmity.
Enemies.
Yes.
No.
So even that is important, that we must be seen to work together. For example, today at lunchtime, I went to eat at Honorable Chiteme's house. I was invited for lunch. Honorable Chiteme and I come a long way. We are both Kitwe residents and we've been friends even when he was minister and campaigning for PF. Right? Yes, he was a minister in PF and campaigning for PF. I was campaigning for the UPND Alliance, but we remained friends. So even today he called, what are you doing? I said, I'm busy with work. How's your life?
And I look forward to such, Mr. Because where we are coming from, the times of UNIP, once you are seen, if you're watching at all is a cartel, or is a PF, such should not exist.
But that in this regime will not be seen, because the president himself is very clear that he doesn't want to see those divides. People must commingle. People must be together. You can differ on ideologies, but you should never become enemies.
Yeah, but this is
that is why this president, despite having gone through what he went through, and I admire this man, Pastor, all that he went through, the imprisonments, the arrests, the breaking into his house, what? Today, he has he's our Mandela. He comes in office and says, no revenge.
Let's pick up this call. Hello, good evening. Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
What's your name and where are you calling us from?
Good evening, sir. My name is Mubanga.
Who? What's your name?
My name is Mubanga.
Mubanga Banda.
Yes, sir.
This is the one nation, Mubanga Banda. Where are you calling us from, sir? Please go ahead and speak to the nation.
Okay. First of all, Mr. KAWANA, the Bible declares that you shall not die but live and declare the words of the Lord. What you're doing to the nation is recommendable. The information that you are giving us, at least it is settling our heart. For us who are listening, we are able to listen that there is something that is coming out. There is something that the government is doing, especially where it comes to controlling the finances of the government. Because when you control the finances of the nation, you are controlling the nation in order for us to develop. My contribution is on those system, especially on the 50% when NCC was involved in, when we were asked we are doing the drainages, we registered well. And we were being trained by NCC, National Council for Construction, on the issue of the waste. I deal in last week, but we were in Brooklyn. But we were trained by NCC. But when the issue of subjects came in, everything crumbled. Such that the training were stopped. Hello?
Yes,
we are listening.
But I don't know if the same system will come back where the training for small scale entrepreneurs comes into force, so that we are producing, and what we're doing is quality transit roads. I can give you an example of the Tokyo Road, which was done by Chile. I spoke even last time to all the family information with the material that I use. They used to get the material, the material which is plastic. It looks like that the one that is put in the foundation. That is not good material for roads. The good material for roads is the one that has stones within it. But if you look at that road, it fell because the foundation of that road fell. When they had to put the asphalt, it started cracking because the foundation was weak. So, are we going to also have the same problem that around the $6 or no factor abuse that is good? Are we going to have the same problem? The other thing is that I know the people that are going to big roads like these long distance roads like the Dollar road and the Great Road, or Western Province one. I don't know how it's still the road in Zingalume. From the roundabout at the Zingalume area there, going down to Zingalume, the road is impassable. If you come to Gade, that's near the store, but there, near the store station there, you see the road there. Going to the market there, it's impassable. Is the government also going to take up this compound road and the rehabilitation like what used to happen with the former government? Because if you look at it, even in Kanyama, if you go in Kanyama, you find that the road, the drainage system is compromised. There's too much water. That those effluents from the pitcher trees are coming into the road. And when you...
Oh, sorry, we missed him, but you have heard what he
has said. His contribution is well noted. And just listening to him, you can tell that you are talking to a qualified contractor.
Even
These
last time he called,
the kind of Zambians.
I even said, I hope the Zambians are listening. Yes. He called the other time.
Yes. So you can tell from his contribution, you are able to deduce the competence in him and the authority of knowledge of what he's talking about. So yes, big roads such as Lusaka, Dio, Karajwe, and so on, these are what you would refer to as commercially viable roads, are being undertaken under the PPP. So that private sector can come in, build the roads, tow the roads, and they'll be able to recoup their money. So that government funds permitting can now concentrate on those roads in Zingalume, in Kanyama, and so on. I think one of the things that Minister Milupi is very busy with is to ensure that the country's roads are put in a proper and passable manner. In terms of the percentage, the 20%, the contracts that are given to the Zambians, that is something that was even frowned upon by President Hakainde Hichilema, even in opposition. The idea of what this government wants to do is that when you get the 20% on your first contract, you must arrive at 30 or 40 in the next, then 50 or 60 in the next, then 70 or 80 in the next, then 100%.
Not to just be...
No, it is not just 20% and that's it. You must be able to grow gradually. So Zambians are able to grow and are able to do it. One of the roads that can be demonstrated that it was done completely by Zambian contractors is Nangwenya Road. That was done by a Zambian contractor. Nangwenya Road, where there's Lusaka International School, the one that passes Parliament Montero.
Yes, 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 yes.
That was done by a subcontractor, a Zambian contractor through and through. So our people are ready with the works. What we need now is to ensure that we give them the projects and we test their ability to be able to do the works. What is this government doing as far as the trainings at the National Council of Constructions is concerned? This government has decentralized those trainings to go down into the constituency. Every constituency in phase 1 now, we are training young people in each constituency, close to 100 young people. They're being trained in bricklaying, plumbing. And
why have you left me?
Electricity. I want to repeat, young people. So, we are training them.
Yeah.
Under the youth skills, because one of the things, Pastor, we have lost out as a nation are skills. I think we've done well with academics, and that is why today we have a proliferation of qualified young people with white collar and no white collar jobs for them. But we've done away with skills. Today, if you're going to build a house, Pastor, just to do your ceiling, if you want a proper ceiling done, you have to bring in labor from Zimbabwe, from Tanzania.
Who have skills.
Who have skills. Our people know skills. So under the THABO program, we are ensuring that we now impart skills in the Zambian young people. Right now, there's a skills development that was launched by His Excellency the President in Chipata the other week. This is to see to it that young people are given skills right in the constituency. They are imparted with those skills. All they need to do is show up. They won't pay. Government will pay for them. Train them as bricklayers, train them as plumbers, train them as...
Where do they get those details
from their constituency committees, because it has to go down to the people
and everyone, regardless. So
the constituency committee is the one now that says we have our 100 in these constituencies. The first group are these ones.
Okay.
So they are trained, and once they are trained, they are given what is referred to as a competence certificate by the government, because the government is training them. Engineers are training them. They take that competence certificate, they go with it to NCC, so that they are graded and given a certificate by NCC. They get the same competence certificate, they go with it to ZPPA, so that then they are also accredited to be able to take on public works. Now, once they have that, they have now to join the queue in the constituency, joining the constituency development fund, which is building classrooms, building teachers' houses, building this and that. So instead of looking for contractors outside the constituency or the country, they now engage in this. Question is, okay, they can be engaged, they can be given the contract, but they don't have capital. The government has worked with the banks to come in to ensure that the young people are given the capital. The capital, not necessarily the money per se. They need a truck, they need a van, they need a front-end loader, they need a brick mortar. But
you should also, as a government, identify people like Bamubanga Banda.
Yes.
Because these people are assets.
Yes.
They are people who are overly qualified.
Yes.
They have no jobs, they are old people, they are big.
So those are getting bigger contracts. So smaller contracts in the constituencies must be dealt with by the young people in the constituencies. Why get a bigger contractor to come and do a 1x3 classroom block in the constituency when the young people can get that? So the banks are empowering them with the soft loans, buying them the necessary equipment, and then they are getting registered and they're being given contracts by government. Once they're given the contracts by government, they do the works. The bank that has sponsored them is holding their account. Government pays from the Constituency Development Fund, and the bank is able to recover their money and give the young people money. So we are not only empowering them with skills, but we're empowering them with a livelihood. This is a whole well thought out program that at the end of the day, the benefits will accrue in number one, the constituency being able to push its developmental trajectory forward, the constituency benefiting by having skilled young people in it, the constituency benefiting by having empowered young people who are skilled and are working in it.
Mr. THABO, I know we are in 2 years' time. But this is very beneficial, and it's in the interest of the nation. And I know through your hard work you are supposed to be in bed, but allow me to take some text messages. Okay. I will do myself a disservice, and my wife cannot object to my going beyond my given time. Please give us the text messages, Mr. Director. How do we try to reconcile with people whom the only agenda is to loot the country, unless if we are on the same speed of honesty? This is John Mwelwa.
So we do that by showing them that they are not supposed to loot the country. So in every given scenario, when evil protrudes, you fight evil with love.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so you cannot reject people because they are thieves. You reform them.
And
that is why I said in one of my interviews, Pastor, that they remain our friends, but they will face the law. And when they are sent to prison, we will still visit them in prison. Because even when they come out, they continue being our friends. What they did wrong, they must pay for. But they cannot be our enemies.
I like what President HS says. We should not revenge.
Yes.
You know, if we are to build this nation to higher levels, we should not be moving with vendetta in our hearts. You know, and thank God I'm not in the cabinet because people like him, you know, Mr. Mwelwa, you want to promote tension and all this, but like you said, you cannot fight evil with evil. Fight evil with love.
Yes.
You know. Another text message, Mr. Director. You are good to be a full minister. I agree with this man actually. If I were to be president, I would appoint you as a minister of local government. You are the best in UPND so far.
Thank you very much.
These compliments are coming from the heart. Hi, Pastor, Mr. Kawana. We lost around 42 Zambian lives during the gassing debacle. When is anyone going to be held accountable? This is TM in Lusaka.
Mr. TM, the Minister of Internal Security, Honorable Jack Mwimbu, will be able to brief the nation as to how far those investigations have gone.
You've heard, he has answered. And another one, Pastor asked Mr. Kawana, why do these school administrators are not accommodating all children who wanted to
go back to school?
Huh?
Go back to school while you have done it free.
What's that, GM? Who wanted?
I think it's a typo error.
Oh, it's a typo. Who wanted to go back to school while you have done it free also at Nikitwe?
The school inspectors are on the ground. This program is a serious program. Government is determined, and we're ensuring that all teething problems are dealt with. And there are administrators that want to frustrate this program can do so at their own peril. There are administrators that have been disciplined and some severely punished for trying to frustrate the program. Others were asking children to pay. Others were having the audacity to tell parents to bring school materials when the school has been given money to buy the school materials.
So you are saying even those, the law will visit them?
Yes, whoever will try and go against this policy can do so, but at their own peril. We'll catch up with them and they'll dance to the music.
Give us the last 4 text messages. Pastor, you are doing a great job. Thank you, sir. Then you are doing a great job. Oh, whatever is going on. May I read that text so that I know the job I'm doing? You are doing a great job. May God bless you and your family. To Mr. Kawana, continue updating the nation. Job well done. This is Abel Zingai
from Kitwe.
From Kitwe. Abel, you are the last one. Thank you so much. You see why, Mr. Kawana, I like saying this channel is not just another channel. We have a big family out there.
Yes, sir.
The information you offload here each time you come, There are people that say, Pastor, when are you bringing Mr. Kawana? When? Because you are educating even those who don't know anything. You are educating us.
No, we are grateful and always ready to come and share with the nation, because that is our role and our mandate. And we will continue going around the country and engage our people on radio so that we talk to them. The theme of my minister is let the people talk. Yeah, so you go out there and listen to the people and respond to them, but allow the people to talk. That's the only way we'll feel what is on the ground.
What are your last words as we close the...
My last words, Pastor, is that this government knows that we cannot always prepare the future for our youth. But we shall endeavor to always prepare our youth for the future. Therefore, that is why we have brought free education to ensure that every young person in this country gets an education.
Well, I'm so grateful, dear Camnet TV. There you have it, Mr. THABO Kawana, the director and spokesperson for the Ministry of Information. I'm so grateful to the minister, to the PS, the president, of course, and for what we are doing as Zambians. May I say this? Through Mr. THABO Kawana, let there be love in this nation. And let's protect one another. Let's stand with one another. And my appeal to this government, Mr. Kawana, is as you are doing the work on Zambians, bringing them to book, please extend that to the external people, because they've damaged this nation. And investors don't love Zambia per se, sorry to say that. They come here for profits. It's not that they come to develop this nation. And the only people who can develop this nation are Zambians.
Yes.
And my appeal is love them, be lenient, and may God bless this nation and put us together.
Thank you very much.
And tomorrow, Camnet Stars are playing. You know Camnet Stars as a team.
Yes.
At Kablonga Boys, we are playing Imiti Kula Impanga. And at 15 hours, if you have time, please come and see the contribution we are doing to the nation.
We'll find time to pass you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
To all of you that have been with me on behalf of my wife, the CEO, and on behalf of the technical team and crew members and the Healing Word Ministries, to you viewers, you are just awesome. Keep watching Camnet TV, because Camnet TV is not just another channel. Bye-bye.